Hi everyone, my name is Dayo A, and I'm a data analyst, data consultant with Knowledge Escalators. And as Donny said, today we're talking about SQL and how that contributes to your data career, and then we'll be also talking about some additional skills. Okay, so today do a quick chat about Knowledge Escalators, do an intro to the team, and then we go on to talk about SQL. And then we talk about, we'll do a quick demo just to show you what one of the systems that we use to write SQL looks like. I say one because there are quite many. And then we go into another important part, which is telling data stories. So is it enough just to be a good analyst with regards to writing code, or is there another part of it, which is how do you land your data stories? And then after that, we go into Q&A and closing remarks. Okay, so about Knowledge Escalators. So we are a career coaching platform, and we kind of focus on how to get our clients to where they want to be in their careers. We're very customer centric, and what that means is the way that we've tailored our classes and even the size of the classes is kind of structured to ensure that the clients get the best of it. I mean, we don't have large classes for that matter. We have our training is live videos rather than recorded for that matter, so it's more interactive. So again, everything is geared towards making sure that the client gets the best out of it. Combined, we have over 50 years experience, again, kind of focusing on cybersecurity, business intelligence, and business analysis. So each one of us has over 10 years experience in their respective fields. And I mean, our primary areas of focus are data analytics, business analysis, and cybersecurity. Okay, so let's talk about SQL. So SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and is a programming language that you use to, you use it to manage data, you use it to query data, you use it to process data. Um, and I feel like depending on your role, what you would use it for varies. For the purpose of this, we're focusing on business analysts, we're focusing on data analysts, we're focusing on technical business analysts. I find that these days, different companies will call the same role different things. Which they're allowed to do, but all in all, you're still doing the same thing. You're analyzing data, you're interpreting data, and you're passing it on to consumers to make informed decisions. Um, so typically, what would happen is you have your data stored in different sources. So different companies have different systems that they use for their day-to-day operations. So some use SAP, some use Oracle, some use Workday, some use Marketo for marketing, some use Salesforce. And what would happen is you're moving that data from the source system into some kind of relational database. So moving into a relational database for reporting purposes. And so, what I'm saying here is you ingest the data into the database, and then that's where SQL comes in. So you're using SQL to interrogate, to extract, to prepare your data. So doing a lot of data manipulation. And let's assume there's a task. So somebody says, how much did company A make? So the CEO wants to know how much they made in in the last quarter. So we have the data in the database. So I, as an analyst, would go in there to extract the data, and I'm pulling all the different transactions that we had. There are the debit ones, the credit ones. I'm doing some calculations to get, well, this is how much we made in profit. And so once I do that in SQL, I have the opportunity to present it in any of these different visualization platforms. So some companies still use Excel, some companies use Power BI, some companies would use PowerPoint for it, some companies will use Click and Tableau. There's a lot of other tools that I didn't mention here, but again, you get the summary of it. So you're pulling data from source, you're manipulating it to get the desired results, and then you present it. So let's go to the SQL syntax. Okay, so this is what the SQL syntax looks like. Now, I call it SQL. Some people call it SQL. It's the same thing. Um, so at a high level, you are trying to perform an action on an object given a condition. In this instance, I'm trying to do a select statement, trying to select data from the employee table, and I only want my data. So fname stands for first name. So I'm just pulling that data, and that's what that SQL query does. Now, SQL can do a lot of other things. So you can do an insert statement. You can insert data into a table. You can update, which is what the table below shows us. So you're trying to update the country table, and you're trying to increase the population by one where the country is USA. So again, you can do that. You can create a table. You can delete from a table. You can do all those other things. Okay, so we'll go to demo bit. So I'll stop sharing and then share one of the platforms that you use to write SQL, and then we can have a quick demo on that. Okay, so this is called SQL Server Management Studio, and it is one of the tools that you use to kind of interrogate databases using SQL. And I'll just call out a few things. So, I mean, in different organizations, you would have multiple databases here. I mean, you would have access to a few, you might not have access to all. In this instance, for the purpose of this, so we have this K-Consult database, and that's what we'll be using. I'll call out a few things. So, I mean, standard Windows software where you can save, you can edit, you can view. So all those things. One of the first things I do when I'm looking at SQL is if this is the first time I'm using this, so what I'll go into tools, I'll go into options, and what I'm trying to do is ensure that this is checked so that my code is numbered. And so if there's any errors, then it would show me, it would mention the number, I can go there. One of the other things I do as the first thing is to go into the database and familiarize myself with it. So I'll look at it and say, well, what tables do I have and what does the data look like in those tables? In this instance, I know I only have two tables. So I'll do a quick select top 100 rows or top 1,000 rows, and that would give me the top 1,000 records inside of that table. Now, so another way to do this is just to do a select star. So do a select star. Again, if you remember the diagram that I showed you before, you're trying to perform an action on an object given a condition. In this instance, we're just doing a select star from employee. So in this instance, we haven't put any conditions there. It is just a quick select statement, and that would do the same thing. So he's giving us all the employee records. And what am I looking for here? I'm just trying to familiarize myself with the content of the data, right? So what does it look like? What format is it in? So in this instance, I can see that this employee number is a numeric field. I see that there's an E name, there's an F name, L name. I can quickly deduce that that is the first name and last name. I know that there's the job, is the manager, hire date. So I have all that information. Now, quickly, star in SQL is something called a wildcard. And what that means is it lets you select everything. So wildcards are used in instances where you want to either select everything or you want to have a reference point without being very specific. So you can use a question mark for something, and you say, well, I know there's a value here, but I don't know what it is. So again, that's another wild card. But for in the instance of this, I just want to select everything, which is what I've done. Now, if the next step is I want to select the record only for a data analyst. So I want to see data analysts here if there is any. So I can say select star from employee, where the job is equal to data analyst. And then that gives me that one record. So let's try something else. I said before that you can use a wildcard. So I would use notes here. Initially, I'm using an equal to. Now I want to use a like. And what that would do is, so I'm looking for analysts, right? Any kind of analyst in the team. So I say where the job is like analysts, and let's run this. Okay, this doesn't return anything, which it should. So I'm going to try something else. I'm going to try to wrap it with double quotes. Now, depending on what version of SQL you're using, doesn't like that either. I'll change it back. Different versions of SQL allow you to use single quotes or double quotes. So for some reason, this is not bringing anything back. So let me have another look. This is one of the things that can happen when you're doing data analysis. In some instances, the the query is not giving you the result that you expect. So again, it's time to troubleshoot. So we know there's data analyst. I know that if I put the like function, should let me. Okay, I'll take this out. Now it works. So I mean, you might remember earlier I mentioned the fact that you can use a question mark or you can use a star. What I didn't mention is you can use a percent. In some instances, you use a percent. So for some reason, I was talking about the star and then I put a star in here. But yeah, so what should have happened is you use a percent, and what that does is says their values in front of it and their values at the back of it. So now we see all of this. We have different analysts in the team. I'll do something else. So if I take away the percent in front and run the query again, it's slightly different. So now we're seeing that when I don't put anything in front, there's no percent in front. It doesn't expect any values in front of the analyst. It just expects that it contains analyst and maybe has additional information or additional values at the back of it, but not in front. If I change it back and put the percent there, it brings everything back. All right, so now we'll try something slightly different. So bear in mind, we have two tables here. Now, let's see what we're looking at the employee table, but let's see what is inside the department table. So in the department table, we have department number, department name, location, and country. However, it is not in this table. So what usually happens is people store their data in, they store it in different ways for different reasons. So there is, I mean, something that we're not going to go into in detail now, but it's kind of storing data in different normalization forms. It goes all the way to third normal, fourth normal, depending. What happens is people try to structure their data in a way where it's easy to write to the database, hence the reason why in this instance, we're storing certain information on table one, which is the department, and then we're storing other information in the employee table. What that means is in some instances, you're going to have to join the two of them together. So for instance, if I wanted to see the country and the department name, then I would have to join from employee to department. Now let's have a quick look at the different tables so remember what is in there. We have department number, department name, location, country, and here we also have department number. So first of all, I can leave this as select star, or I can do an A star. We'll get to why I'm doing that in a bit. So one way to kind of write your query to make it, I guess, more streamlined, if you like, is to use aliases. So that way you don't have to type out the full table and column name. So in this instance, I'm going to call employee table table A. I'm doing an inner join to department, which I'm giving an alias of table B. And then when you want to combine two tables together, you're joining based on something called a foreign key, which is a column that the two of them have in common. If you remember, this has the department number and this also has the department number, so which is what we're going to use. A dot department number is equal to B dot department number. So one good thing that SQL Server Management System allows you to do is it has IntelliSense, which means that in some instances you don't have to fully type everything, which comes in handy. Now, additional columns that I want to bring in, I want to bring in the country, and I want to bring in departments. The department name. So if I run this query again, now it has additional information. I can see that, well, Julia works in research and she's based in the US. I can see that Jules works in research as well. I can see that Max works in operation and is also based in the United States. I don't know if we have any questions so far. If not, we can move on. Okay. So for the purpose of this, I just wanted to kind of quickly show you what SQL can do. It can do a lot of other things, but I think we'll stop with the demo at this point, and I'll go back to the presentation. Okay, so we're done with the demo. Now, when it comes to data, I mean, this is one of the phrases that I like. Data doesn't lie, but you can tell different stories with it. And it just means that, I mean, we all have the liberty to interpret data that we see in different ways. And I'll show you what I mean. All right. So I believe that it's not enough just to be able to analyze data. It is also as important for you to be able to kind of present it and message it in the way that you feel that is most effective. So, I mean, a few things that you must consider when presenting data is, what does the data itself say, right? So for instance, you're producing data on business performance. Is the data saying you performed well at a very high level? So, I mean, did we make a profit of $10 million or did we make a profit of 2 million? Or did we make a loss of 10 million? Depending on how the business performs, the way you would message the data differs. Again, another thing you're considering is, who are you presenting to? Are you presenting to the executive team? If you're presenting to the executive team, you want to keep it very, very short. You want to keep it very precise, straight to the point, so that they have the information that they can use to make decisions. What is the intended impact of that presentation, or what is the intended impact of the analysis? In some instances, they're carrying out data analysis to seek approval for a project. I've been in conversations where I was asked to do analysis to seek funding for a project. Again, where that is the intended impact, then the way I would message the data will be different. I'm focusing a lot on, well, this is what will happen if we do this, and if this is what this is the impact of not doing it. So again, in that instance, my messaging is more around, we should do this, you know. Also, what is the key message that you want people to take away? You know, so with every data analysis, with every presentation, with every visualization, when people see it and leave, what is that one thing you want to stand out? So let's look at some data and then see what I mean. So in this instance, I've decided to use the 2020 US presidential elections. Now, all the statements below are correct. But the question is, do they have the same impact? So if you look at the small table in the middle there, so that is the election results, right? So Biden Harris, it is 81 million, 51%. Trump Pence, it is 74 million. 46.9%. Then we have another group, which is kind of the rest of the candidates, almost 3 million, 1.9%. Now let's look at the different messages. The first one is saying in 2020, over 74 million people voted for Trump. And that's the highest number of votes achieved by an incumbent president. Now, whilst Trump didn't win that election, that message kind of has a positive connotation to it, right? So if we kind of look at that statement in itself, it looks like, well, this is good. So depending on your role, depending on the message, depending on who you're presenting to, you would message it as such, or you could message it as such. Somebody else could say Biden had almost 77 million more votes than Trump in 2020. Again, correct, but messaging and the impact is different. Now let's look at the gentleman on the far right. He is saying only 1.9% of voters in 2020 voted for neither Biden nor Trump. Now, if we compare that to the other gentleman who is saying almost 3 million people didn't vote. Now, 3 million sounds like a large number because it is a large number, 3 million people. But if we say 1.9%, it almost minimizes it, right? So it doesn't sound like a lot when you think about it. So another example that I'll give you is I have a business, right? I have a business, and in 2019, I had just one customer, right? 2019, I had one customer. In 2020, my customer base grew to two. And 2021, my customer base grew to four. Now, if I said my customer base grew by one and my customer base grew by two for those 2 years respectively, the messaging is different from I grew my customer base by 100% year on year over the last 2 years. Now, 100% year on year sounds more impressive. So again, is how do you message your data to get your desired impact? I think that is key. To test this further, decided to try an experiment. So I asked ChatGPT to present my career in a visually appealing format. And this is what ChatGPT came up with. Again, so I provided ChatGPT with certain information, right? So I haven't changed anything here from what ChatGPT gave me besides just kind of making it cleaner, because I mean, a few of it was kind of not aligned. But ChatGPT decided to add a message from novice to data analytics leader. I also said that, well, ChatGPT, this presentation is for prospective data analyst candidates or data analyst students, if you like, or people that are interested in data analyst course for my business. And so again, that's why ChatGPT decided to include welcome to data analyst training class. But again, what is ChatGPT focusing on? It's focusing on the different roles, and it's kind of trying to highlight a few things. It's highlighting the value that I brought to the business, is highlighting the skills that I kind of brought, well, the skills that I gained either in those roles or the skills that I utilized in those roles. So I mean, this kind of took a few back and forth with ChatGPT, but all in all, I mean, this is what ChatGPT came up with. All right, so I decided to do the same thing, but again, I decided to focus on what message am I trying to pass across to the audience, right? And I purposely decided not to put any summary on top of it, right? So I'm not putting any summary on top of it, and what I'm trying to say is what stands out to the audience, you know. So I'll call out a few things. I've made the assumption that everybody on this call is interested in how much money do you make as a data analyst, and how much money can you make as a data analyst, and what is the level of effort, and what are the skills that you require. So, and that's what I've done. So plotted a graph with the main values being salary. Again, I purposely didn't include the actual figures, but you can infer certain things, right? So at the start of my data career, I mean, again, started kind of for the first, I guess, 2 years as an analyst, and then went on to become a data and systems manager. Slight increase in salary, and then 2 years after that, another slight increase in salary. But then you can see that jump, right? By the time you get to the fourth bar, there's a massive jump. And then that continues to go up until the seventh, right? And then you have a slight dip. So again, looking at the graph without me saying anything that kind of grabs your attention. Again, the line part of the graph grabs your attention. You're like, okay, this is interesting. So I mean, the workload seems high, kind of first 5 years, and then gradually starts to decline, right? Starts to decline and gets to kind of like a place where you can call it almost kind of starts to go back up after that, right? So I mean, government work as an analyst, I mean that's where I think my workload was the least, and then started going up after that. So those were the key things, and then you start to think about, well, some of these things are red. Why are they red, right? You might notice that the red crossbar, again, the same thing, kind of trying to make sure that that message grabs your attention. So across all my career, I've used SQL. I've also used communication skills and attention to detail. Again, these are the skills that I wanted to grab your attention with, which is why they're red. I kind of let you take this in more for a few more minutes, and then we can go on to the Q&A. And also, I mean, there's that last statement at the bottom of it, which kind of shows the average data salary in the US. So that is 82,000. But yeah. Okay, in the absence of any more questions, I'd like to say thank you to everyone. I hope you gained something from this session. If you like what you see, if you like what you've heard, please feel free to reach out. We are starting a new training class in a few weeks, so please feel free to reach out. Our phone number is right there, and also we have our email address and website. And you also have my email address, so if you have any questions that come to mind after this session, please feel free to reach out. Also, as I mentioned at the start, this is part 2 of a 4-part series. So again, we're going to have another one on cybersecurity, and we're going to have another one that is going to be talking about business analysis. So thank you very much, everyone.